there, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you for joining me for a busy edition of Tell-Il 24/7. On this week's show, I'll speak to the leader of the provincial PC party of Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, and the PC's newly nominated candidate for Richmond, Trevor Boudreau. And we'll take a look back at the recent Leadership School for Women, which was held in Membertou earlier this month to help prepare potential female candidates for this fall's municipal elections. But first, here's the first of a two-part series involving the Mayor of Port Hawkesbury, Brenda Chisholm-Beaton. It's been a busy summer for the Mayor and her Town Council as they've looked at possible ways to expand the waterfront and Granville Street in Port Hawkesbury, and also taken a look at what facilities can reopen for recreational purposes now that COVID-19 restrictions have been loosened a little bit. So here's the first part of that interview with Mayor Chisholm-Beaton right now. I want to start, if I could, by taking a look at the Port Hawkesbury waterfront, and that is something that the town very specifically has been doing in recent weeks, even having a public hearing to talk a bit about the new waterfront development plan that's being worked on. Can you give us a bit of a breakdown on what some of the priority areas are for this plan? Because I understand it takes in Granville Street as well, and just how the process is going at this point.
Sure, I'd love to talk about the waterfront. It's certainly going to be a very exciting project going forward for the town of Port Hawkesbury and Town Council and staff. And we definitely the goal will be, how do we create a plan that includes the voice of our citizens, the voice of all of our stakeholders, so that we can unlock the full potential of the waterfront in more ways than one, because certainly we want to marry the two main concepts of having our waterfront be a place to visit, a place for citizens, for tourism, but we also want to as well make sure that it's a working waterfront as well, that it's the kind of waterfront that's needed for businesses and industries to be able to, and of course the NSCC and Nautical Institute, to be able to do the good work that they do down at the waterfront as well. The consultation process has started for citizens, and we did have a very robust session not so long ago. Really wonderful ideas generated. Oh my goodness. I left that session just feeling so energized, and there was just, if all of the ideas that were expressed in that session, even if half of them reach fruition, my God, it's just going to be a spectacular project. And there will still be some ongoing consultations that will occur with stakeholders. That process is still ongoing. And it's kind of, at this point, a bit of a wait and see to see how that waterfront plan rolls out. And there'll be definitely more to share as that progresses.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the individual things that are happening and have been suggested for the waterfront as well, too. I know that the town and the Cape Breton Partnership have been working with the NSCC Nautical Institute to rebrand the Creamery building as the Strait Area Innovation Center, a facility to concentrate on oceans training and marine training. Can you give us a sense on how that's coming along and what else could be in line for the waterfront as we move along with this project?
Sure. So the Marine Innovation Center is a really cool concept. It's still in the process of getting fleshed out, and there is a consultation process that is ongoing with stakeholders with what could be the potential of that innovation hub. And it's going to be more than just ocean safety and oceans innovation. We can really look at making that a hub for innovation for all things that have potential in the Strait of Canso zone. So it's certainly an exciting project, and it's so great to see new life breathed into that historical property and to see some action down there. The building itself is getting in the process of being renovated, and I can't tell you how nice it is to see that building with such an exciting project being developed, especially since it's just been chronically vacant. And, I think it's a really exciting time for our citizens and a really exciting time for the town to have a waterfront development project ongoing and also to have that Oceans Innovation Center being developed as well. Like, what a tremendous gift. Our waterfront, it's an asset that we know has great potential. And now that we're giving it the attention it deserves, I'm so excited to see what the future holds for our waterfront in both of those projects. And you asked a little earlier, what do we mean when we talk about waterfront? So that waterfront plan will encompass pretty much the entryway, the gateway to Granville Street. So as you're driving into town on Reeve Street, and you'll see the entrance to Granville Street, that's really the entrance to our waterfront. So from that Granville Street gateway to our waterfront, and all the places along Granville Street as well, all of our green spaces, as well as the road itself. So our waterfront plan will be looking at Granville Street in terms of safety and function, and we'll be looking at our green spaces in terms of what could they be developed into to really add value to that waterfront plan. We'll talk about streetscapes and beautification, facade. It's going to be really exciting. And of course, everything down on Lower Water Street and Granville Street, just past Old Sydney Road. That will be the catchment that we'll be looking at in terms of that waterfront development plan. And it's really, really exciting.
I know some members of Port Hawkesbury's residential areas talk lovingly about what Granville Street was in the past, and some of them even suggesting that it was very much the downtown of Port Hawkesbury. Those days have gone by, even though there are some developments that have tried to bring some more attention to Granville Street, the most obvious being Granville Green, but I think about the restoration of what was known as the Hotel Lorraine back in the day. And I just wonder, do you have some optimism that Granville Street could not only reclaim the place that it's had, but also take on a whole new identity as this project goes forward?
I really think that somewhere in between those two suggestions is where we will land. Wouldn't it be wonderful to reconnect to some of the spirit and the history of Granville Street when it was in its golden age? So we can't obviously recreate the history. We're living in a different time and place where in the history of our town, people gravitated towards the waterfront because that was the commercial core. That was where the shipbuilding and the canneries were, and the wharf activities were. All of our accommodations were down there, like the Hotel Lorraine, like the Farquhar House. So it was a very exciting time in Port Hawkesbury's history, and it will be so again. We will recreate Granville Street in a way that will draw people down there, and we will, in essence, like you suggested, we will really be recreating it. Granville Street and our waterfront. And what that vision is yet to be determined. But right now, when you look at the exciting things going on right now at our waterfront, we have Customs House. We have wonderfully talented young artists that are really kind of etching out this really cool artist and artisan district down on Granville Street. And we definitely have carved out a district for arts and entertainment with the Granville Green. And we certainly, it's definitely been more than 20 years in the making. So we do have already those wonderful fingerprints down there already. And how do we build into it that to honor our history? I'm not quite certain, but I'm sure that when we see that final vision and we see that final waterfront development plan, I'm really hopeful it'll check off all those boxes.
Let's shift gears a little bit now and talk about recreation facilities around the town. Now, obviously, this has been a difficult year for many of them in terms of what's happened in terms of COVID-19 and the related social distancing lockdowns and shutdowns instituted by the province. Some of those are starting to reopen now. We've seen the fitness center at the Port Hawkesbury Civic Center reopened as of August the 4th. And the town has started to take a look at what else can be done in terms of reopenings of some of these facilities. What can you tell me about what discussions have been had this month in particular, and where you folks go from here?
We will be looking at reopening our rink, and we're all excited about the start of hockey, although it will look a tiny bit different than it did prior to COVID-19. We're fairly confident that we will still have a robust hockey season occurring here in the town. The pool, the plan for the pool is still out for the jury decision, so to speak. But that plan is certainly in the works. And as far as the gym, it has been open since August 4th, I believe, and doing quite well. We have new memberships being generated. And again, no one was prepared with a COVID-19 manual before this whole thing hit. So it's a trial and error, making sure that we're ramping up our cleaning strategies and making sure we're accommodating people and keeping them as safe as possible and mitigating as much risk as possible. So and the walking track as well. I know a lot of folks have been asking about the walking track. So it is open for use. And of course, the community park is open as well. And really, other than the pool, I think that is the pool right now is kind of the opening plan that's still in development.
Can you isolate just quickly the fitness center? Because I know this was really an important year for that fitness center. The Cape Breton YMCA announcing its departure in January. The town worked very quickly to reestablish itself as the owner of the fitness center and get the FitPass program going, and had been at that for a few weeks before the pandemic really swept through. You're saying there are an increased number of memberships now that the fitness center is open again. Are you pleased in the short term that people do seem to be embracing this town-run model of the fitness center at the Civic Center? Are you folks off to a good start, even in terms of what happened with the shutdown?
Well, every gym across the Nova Scotia and across the country, we're in the same boat when COVID hit, and many of those facilities were shut down in short order. Prior to that, we were extremely thrilled with the support and with the level of memberships that were purchased early on. All of those memberships were basically frozen during COVID-19, so that those memberships wouldn't even miss so much as a day, let alone an hour, when they would be activated again. So we are honoring all those original memberships. But since the time that we have reopened, we have been generating some new memberships over and above honoring those memberships from the first opening of the facility. It's still going to be a process that we'll be following as a council and as town staff. We'll be looking at that carefully for kind of a pilot period, so to speak, and seeing how if it has continued success, then at the end of the day, we have to sit down and figure out, is this something we want to continue? Do we want to engage with private businesses who may be interested in maybe a private sector type of a plan? So these are all kind of questions that we have kind of a pin in for now. And once we have a little bit more information, we're able to see how it's going to operate going forward, then we will have those discussions when the time is right.
I wanted to ask you about the status of the recreation fields, the athletic fields, including the Dan Willie McDonald Memorial Ball Field. The sense I got earlier this year was that while the town wasn't opening those fields up to complete league play, that there was going to be some limited access that could be had by individuals and small groups. It does seem like there is some baseball happening over there. Can you give us some clarification on just what exactly the use is of the fields in this regard?
Sure. So you are correct. The fields are being used. We have Minor Ball, who are offering programs for our kids and our youth. My son Finley is playing on the PB team that they have, and so it is being used. And again, they have their own COVID accommodations that they've built into the program that they have for the remainder of the summer. There is some of those rules, of course, are going to be, small things like all of the kids need to have their own protective headwear. The bats get wiped down between use, and there's still there is rules as well again for observing the games. So one parent only per game. So they try to mitigate the risk of having too many people in the stands. So they have given a lot of thought around safety and COVID-19, and it's certainly not the same or perhaps as robust as it has been in past years with regard to our ball fields and our other recreation fields as per use. But it is nice to see that it is getting used even in a reduced capacity.
We'll hear more from Mayor Brenda Chisholm Beaton in just a little while. But right now, let's shift from municipal politics to provincial politics. Earlier this month, the leader of Nova Scotia's Progressive Conservative Party, Tim Houston, toured Richmond County with the newly nominated PC candidate for the riding of Richmond, Trevor Boudreau. We caught up with them at the St. Peter's Lions Club Marina earlier this month. Here's that interview right now. Well, thank you again for joining me today, gentlemen. The first thing I want to ask you is, how is the day going? You folks have been stopping in at a number of different areas in Isle-Madame and mainland Richmond County over the past few hours. What kind of reception have you gotten so far, and how have things been going?
Fantastic. I mean, it's a beautiful day here. We got a great candidate here, so I'm looking forward to just getting out around Nova Scotia, telling Nova Scotians what I stand for as a leader, what the PC party stands for, and certainly I've been touring the province, and this is a beautiful, beautiful part of the province. It's been a great day.
Trevor, what's the reaction been like on the floor as you've been getting to these communities? Obviously, the timing is a little different with the pandemic and with events canceled, but are you finding the message has been receptive as you go around?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's been great having Tim here. It was important for me to see if we could get Tim down early after I became the candidate, to make sure he could see what a beautiful spot we have, but also get to meet some of the folks and some of the businesses and groups that we have here and what make us tick. And so really pleased that Tim was able to get here.
I know that first impressions can be very important in a political campaign, but first impressions are also important in terms of a leader meeting his new candidates. So I'm wondering, first of all, Tim, can you tell me a little bit about what you first thought of Trevor as a candidate for Richmond County? And Trevor, same questions to you. What did you think of Mr. Houston in terms of his leadership of the PC party?
This guy's putting an incredible team together. I've been so impressed with South traveling today and just seeing how people kind of gravitate towards him. And I think it's just a testament to his community involvement and just the type of person he is.
Yeah. I've been in municipal politics for quite some time, and I've seen the need to have a partner in the province that is willing to work with us at that community level. And Tim and I have had those discussions. We started our discussions early. I'd say we've been courting for a couple of months, maybe a year now, just talking about my belief system and what I'm about and what Tim's about and how I could be part of a team that works to make sure communities are heard and make sure that we have an opportunity to make sure that the things that are important to us here in Richmond County are heard on all levels.
Has it helped you, Trevor, as you look towards provincial politics, to have worked in an area where collaborative efforts are so important? And I mean, we can look at your work on the Physician Recruitment Committee, the Cape Breton South Committee, and we can look at the way the Town Council has worked with municipalities all around, and sometimes has had to really work hard to be able to get a basic agreement on things like service sharing. Do you think that experience helps you as you start getting ready for provincial politics and could serve you well in the House?
Absolutely. I've considered myself a collaborator all the way through. I recognized early on in my political career that you need to be working with your neighbors, you need to be working with your organizations and your communities, and I think that goes to the provincial level too. So we're all in this together. I think, Tim and I have a great understanding of where we want to see this province go and how we want it to work, and us being able to have that ability to provide that to Tim and to the organizations there.
Tim Houston, we just spoke of Trevor Boudreau's work on the Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health Committee, and I just wonder if I could pick up on that with you to ask, what do you think should be done in terms of recruiting physicians to rural areas of Nova Scotia? What hasn't worked in the past, and what would your party do differently if you're elected Premier?
We need to focus on the strength of our communities, because we're never going to win a bidding war with every other jurisdiction in Canada, or even broader than that, worldwide. I mean, but we have wonderful communities. We have actually a quality of life that, especially in this post-COVID world, I mean, people are trying to rebalance a little bit. They're looking for a quality of life. We have what people want, and that includes physicians, it includes all healthcare professionals. It just includes everyone, really. I mean, we have safe communities that are walkable, where people can feel like they're part of something. People want to belong. They want a quality of life that we can offer in Nova Scotia. So I think what we need to do is be proud of that, be confident in that, and just make sure that we're telling our own story. People will want to come here, and when we get them here, we'll keep them here, because we often talk about physician recruitment. But we need to focus on retention first, and I mean, if you can focus on retention, then the recruitment becomes a little easier. So we have and that's, I mean, for me, the work that Trevor's done on promoting community that's what we're all about, and that's why he's going to be an excellent MLA for this area.
Let me pick up then on another aspect of healthcare, that being long-term care. You and your party released an extensive look at what needs to be done in long-term care, and you underlined at the time that this is a crisis that predates the COVID-19 pandemic and what's gone on in places like Northwood. So you're looking to make an immediate impact, if elected, by committing to 2,500 new spaces at long-term care facilities across the province, and partnering with the federal government on another 1,000 on top of that. Can you tell me a little bit about this strategy and why you think this is the right thing to do now and not later?
It's been obvious for a while, but certainly with COVID and what happened at Northwood in particular, but just people started to understand that the way we treat our seniors, they deserve a lot more dignity. So for us, it's we looked at the issues. We as still a relatively new leader, I guess I've made a commitment to the party that I won't criticize without putting solutions forward. So the issues in long-term care are obvious. We need more beds. We need more single rooms. We need to support the staff, support the families. So what we did is we said the issues are obvious, but what are the solutions? We did a lot of homework. We did a lot of research. We put together what I think is a very comprehensive plan. Of course, willing to improve it. I've laid that challenge down to people. Like, this is where what we think, but we're listening. And we've had some feedback on it. Most of it's been positive. Some of it's been helpful as well. So that's what we're totally focused on the here and now. I mean, the funding for seniors it's been cut year after year, for 5, 6, 7 years now, and I think that showed up, and it needs to be addressed. So what we did is we put forward a plan that said, like, there's some immediate needs in beds and staffing, but long term, I mean, we have an aging population. This area in particular, as some of the demographics here is different than other parts of the province. So we need to think that in this province right now we have somewhere in the range of 8,000 long-term care beds. 10 years from now, that might be 20,000. So we have a tsunami of aging people coming at us. So we can't just keep chasing more beds, trying to catch up. So we need to also rethink the way that we support people as they age in place. So we put a plan together and put that forward, and I'm encouraged. But that we'll continue to do that on other issues as well.
Trevor, your thoughts on the PC plan and on the need right here in Richmond County, as Tim Houston has just mentioned, and we've seen that in Port Hawkesbury and around the Strait as well. But talk a little bit about the need right here in Richmond at this time.
Well, I mean, we've talked a little bit about the demographics, Tim and I, and you've made that known here as well. But certainly we are an aged population, and so I've always believed quality of life and the end of life care is so important, and so making sure people live with dignity and to be proud of where they're at and to be comfortable where they're at, and so. I was very pleased when I saw that plan come out, and certainly read through it, and line by line, because I'm one of those that policy and having a plan and thinking about what you want to do long term matters to me. So Tim's making it easy on me to like him a little bit more.
Nova Scotia has to rebuild itself after everything that went on with COVID. It caused severe damage to the business community, and the province has racked up hundreds of millions of dollars in deficit to be able to deal with all that. Can I get quickly your assessment on how the province has done and what you feel your party in government could do to be able to continue and improve on that process?
Yeah, look, at the beginning when the pandemic hits, we made a decision as a party, as a caucus, that the best thing for us to do to support Nova Scotians was to support public health and support the Premier, and we've done that. I mean, we've been kind of behind the scenes putting ideas forward to the Premier, writing to the Premier with different things, and we continue to do that. So I think on balance, Nova Scotians worked hard to flatten the curve. We were asked to stay home, and we did our part. But now as we look forward and see where does the province go from here, it's clear that the pandemic exposed some issues, some fundamental issues in this province around what we talked about long-term care, but around healthcare in general, and certainly around the economy and the economic growth opportunities. And there's nowhere that was exposed more than the failure of the province to provide high-speed internet to every Nova Scotian. I mean, it's just it was summed up for me when somebody told me that they had to drive to a Zoom meeting. So I think when we talk about moving the province forward, modernizing healthcare, modernizing education, growing our economy, these things are all contingent upon having high-speed internet. And there's too many places in Nova Scotia, Absolutely. Too many people that don't have it. That's an important challenge facing the province. It'll be a big election issue. It's one that speaks to my very core. Like it is something I'm totally committed to making sure that every Nova Scotian has the same opportunity. The internet is a great leveler. It levels between rural and urban. It levels across different social economic things. You have to have the internet, and it's a shame that in 2020 we have school kids in this province that were receiving their homework with the grocery flyers. That's not a knock on grocery flyers, but no. It tells us where we're at, that kids couldn't just hop on the internet and get their homework done, couldn't learn. Think about how that's holding us back. So when we talk about rebuilding Nova Scotia and moving forward, that has to be front and center in the discussion.
Can I pick up on that with you, Trevor, because we've known for quite a while now that both individuals and businesses in communities like Dundee and West Bay Road have really felt the strain of low-quality internet in these areas. We're seeing it in neighboring Inverness County as well. Can you speak a bit to the need to push for full internet and fully accessible internet in communities across Richmond County and beyond?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's I haven't been on the job as a candidate very long, and it's one of the topics that comes to mind, forefront on everybody's mind. Rural Nova Scotia and rural Cape Breton in particular feel abandoned a little bit because they don't have that access that somebody else does. And there are people living in high rises in Toronto that have roots in Cape Breton and would love to be here to do their work online, and they can't do that. And so it's not just with internet, but cell coverage too. I mean, if you talk to someone in Framboise or if you talk to someone in Dundee, try picking up a phone call. And so internet is key. Having access to things that places across the world have. We live in a country where this should be pretty easy to come up with a solution for. So, and it's a necessary one.
Yeah, it's a basic human right.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on education just quickly because two things. You mentioned earlier about how the Liberal government in power now had shut down school boards and had shut down community health boards. First question very quickly to you on education and on health as an extension. Would you as Premier reopen these particular organizations? Would you reinstate school boards and community health boards?
Well, I think it's more community input into decisions. I don't know that we just go and get those boards back, but we need to find a mechanism that works. We might, but we want to talk to the communities, because I think what happens sometimes in politics is there's always an excuse. And I sat in the legislature, and for 5 years I listened to the government make excuses about how healthcare was deteriorating, and they constantly use the same excuse. Well, we're amalgamating the health boards. It takes time. Give us time. And while they were asking for time, things were getting really bad. So I think just to any politician that says, well, I'll just flick that switch and reverse that, I just worry that then becomes another 5 years of, well, we're trying to reestablish. So what I would say is we need to make sure that the ideas of communities, the input of communities, are respected, and we need to find a mechanism to do that. So maybe it's somebody from the Department of Education in the jurisdiction with the authority to make decisions, or health, whatever the case may be. There'll be ways to do it, but I think right now it's just people don't know where to turn. So there's a lot of questions about the return to school. They can't just call their school board member. I've heard the minister say call the principal, but I mean that's not fair. I mean, the principals many of the principals I've been speaking to don't have full updates from the Department of Education either. So all this deflect and hide and stuff, it's what we need to get away from in politics. So what I would say is communities know what's best for themselves. Government needs to find a way to listen to it, and we'll find it.
Can I pick up on that thread with you, Trevor, just because I know obviously you and your wife Sarah have 2 young children. They will be going back to school in a couple of weeks. Can you give me a sense of your thoughts of whether the back-to-school layout that's been put out by the province is going to work, and do you have some concerns about how it's unfolding?
Well, certainly I think there's a heightened sense of tension across the province, whether you're a student, you're a teacher, or you're a parent. But I think what it comes down to is, there's a sense of need to see how we can get through this. COVID is not going away tomorrow, and so from my perspective and from my wife's perspective, we have every faith in the teachers and in the principals in our schools. We've been very fortunate to have good dialogue with them, but at the end of the day, we're going to do what's best for them, and going to school right now is, and we'll see how that process unfolds as the months go on, and determine how we continue. But at this point, we're excited. Our kids are excited to see their friends, to get back into a routine. Those things matter to families, and ours especially. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing some normalcy.
I want to ask you, too, about the political ramifications of what's happened in the last couple of weeks, and very specifically the resignation announcement by Premier Stephen McNeil. Some say it caught a lot of people off guard. Many would say, well, the leader is changing, so the government philosophy could change. Does that change the water on the beans for you folks as the PC party, or do you just go ahead as you would have normally?
Yeah, look, I mean, it changes politics in the province for sure. I mean, the premier's resigned. I was personally surprised by the resignation. I didn't see that coming, but I'm thankful for his service to the province. 17 years. It's a big personal sacrifice, a big family sacrifice, and I respect the sacrifice. I respect the service. We didn't always agree politically on things, but I still respect the service. So now the Liberals will need to determine a new leader, and then that new leader will do whatever it is they do. But for us, for the PC party, the challenge is to make sure that Nova Scotians understand what we stand for. Make sure that Nova Scotians understand what their option is, what the alternative is. So that's why, as a leader, I've been spending a couple days a week touring the province, doing things like this with candidates or looking for candidates in different areas, and just making sure that we're looking Nova Scotians in the eye and having frank discussions with them about what is possible. And I think there's a lot possible for this province, and I'm really excited about the future of this province. And I hope that. I hope to see that happen under a PC government.
Trevor, your thoughts? Do you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, it's fascinating. I didn't see that coming, certainly, but my plan was always to get out early. When I ran municipally, I did the same thing. I wanted to make sure I could talk to as many people and many businesses as I could. My approach hasn't changed, whether that happens or not. I'm looking forward to working with Tim and the rest of the team and my team here. We're very excited about the ideas that we have and how we want to move forward. So it hasn't changed my approach. But we'll see how it goes for the next couple of months.
We have covered a lot of ground in a short time, gentlemen, and I never like to assume that we've hit everything. Do you want to add anything else about any of this before we wrap up here?
Well, listen, thanks for your time today, and I do enjoy being in the area, and like this province in general. We were chatting earlier. I said you can't get in a car in Nova Scotia and drive 10 minutes and not find some place where you say, I could live here. There's lots of places around here I could live too. So with a good MLA, maybe I will someday. Who knows?
There we go. So your goal then is to add to the population of Richmond County by 1. Well, I mean 2 or 3. You never know.
There you go.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both, gentlemen, for giving me some time here, and we wish you well on the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Adam.
All right. Tim Houston is the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Nova Scotia, joined by Trevor Boudreau, former Port Hawkesbury Town Council, and now the PC candidate for Richmond. Stay tuned for more Telil 24/7 in just a moment.
And now let's return to municipal politics, and specifically how to encourage more women to run in the municipal elections coming up this October. Earlier this spring, a leadership school for women was planned to help encourage such activity, but those dates were scuttled because of COVID-19 and the resulting social distancing protocols here in Nova Scotia. However, the event did return in August, attracting a large number of participants, both in the physical sense and virtually. So we're going to turn to one of the co-chairs of the group that hosted that meeting. She is, of course, the mayor of Port Hawkesbury, Brenda Chisholm-Beaton, and we'll hear her take on how it all came together and what we can look for in the future for female participation in municipal elections. To start things off, I asked her, how did the whole idea for a leadership school for women come about?
Really early into my first term as mayor, or like in 2016. I reached out to some of our other leading ladies across the province. So I reached out to Warden Betty Ann McCory, Earlene McMullen, and Kendra Coombs, as well as Amanda McDougall. And those three ladies are in CBRM, and Perla McLeod as well from Victoria County. So we started meeting for lunch. And as we kind of created a little support network for ourselves. And in some of those discussions, some of those kind of lunch discussions was, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could kind of replicate this on a grander scale so that women could feel supported, not just for women who are already elected, though, to encourage more women to come and sit at our council tables. And what happens simultaneously with that was conversations and wonderful relationships beginning to form with our First Nation leadership as well, our strong female leaders in our First Nation communities. So Karen Ann Bernard, she's from Eskazoni, and we actually met at an engagement that was being hosted by Leaside Society, and Karen was speaking at that event, and I was speaking at that event. And since then, I kind of pitched her the idea of, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to create this support network for all women all across our island and all across the Strait region, from both our First Nation communities as well as our municipalities. And she really loved the idea. And as things progressed, we created a group of women from our 6 First Nation communities in eastern Nova Scotia, and that's Buckingkeck, Budladeck, Member 2, Eskazoni, Wagmatcook, as well as Wekoma, and then women from our 10 municipalities, from District of St. Mary's, Town of Mulgrave, Guysborough, Antigonish, Town and County, Port Hawkesbury, Richmond County, as well as CBRM, Victoria, and Inverness County. And we decided to call ourselves Government Focus. And FOCUS is an acronym for Female Objectives, Cape Breton, Unama'ki, Strait. So this was the name we decided to give ourselves, and we built a couple of projects. And the first project, actually prior to the leadership school, the first project was tackling the issue itself of gender inequality at our council tables, most definitely, but also we definitely didn't want to draw a line in the sand about it being just about elected positions, because it's about leadership more generally as well. So we looked at the stats early on, and the stats right now with regard to elected positions is that out of 130 elected positions all across the Strait, all across Cape Breton and Unama'ki. So that's band councils as well as municipal councils. There are 130 elected seats. And out of the 130 elected seats, there are 30 women total. And that isn't great. That's not a great balance. So one thing we thought, like in our discussions, we thought, like, how do we change that from a mindset perspective? Like, how do we, because it's more than just convincing women and encouraging them and inspiring them to leadership. It's about creating an enabling environment in our communities here in Eastern Nova Scotia that will embrace and value women as leaders as well. So the way that we wanted to approach that was, it's important that we celebrate the female mayors, chiefs, wardens, councillors, from band councillors as well as municipal councillors, past and present, from all across Eastern Nova Scotia. So that is what we did. Our project that was supported by the Nova Scotia Rural Communities Foundation,
Yes.
They supported us for a project to celebrate women in politics. As a result of that project, we created a website called electher.ca. Very, very simple. We presented all of those basic statistics. We have given kind of a tipped our hat to all of our elected women that are presently serving on there as well, and we also we use that website as we continue with our second project, which was the Leadership School for Women. And if anybody wants to go on that website, it has got an incredible amount of resources with regard to local government, and it also you'll be able to see what we mean when we talk about celebrating our past and present female leadership. So part of that original project, other than the website, was going to be a bit of a traveling show celebrating our female leaders, because we wanted the communities to see the wonderful female leaders that we've had past and present. And that show was supposed to launch in March, and of course COVID-19 happened.
Yeah.
And we were unable to launch that show. We will definitely, the intention will be to do that when it's safe to do so. So we still would like to do that. But the wonderful thing is that the banners that we created for that Celebrating Women in Politics traveling show, we were able to use those for the Leadership School. So we had 16 banners all around the room and the Member 2 Trading Convention Center, in the room that we held the Leadership School. And each of those banners showcased one of the 16 communities. So each community had their own banner, and each banner celebrated 2 or more women from each of the communities with a wonderfully inspiring quote from all of the women, quotation. And that really just lent a lot of value to the event.
So can you give me a sense of just how the conference was carried out? Was it held in a physical location? Was it entirely virtual? Can you give us a sense on some of the people that might have spoken, and just what the overall feeling was for the participants throughout? How did it all unfold over the last weekend? Sure.
So we started with an optional Friday night blanket exercise. And what a blanket exercise is, it's a kind of an exercise in the history of our First Nation citizens, and What happened throughout that history, it's very moving, and it's a powerful exercise in truth and reconciliation. So that was an optional event, but we were very grateful to see that there was a very high participation rate for the women who were registered in the school. We had to cap that event because of COVID and safety. We had to cap that event at 40 women, and it was fully subscribed. So it was really great to see. There was no virtual option for that exercise, but for the following day, our learning day, which was the Saturday, that was made available to women virtually as well as in person. So we had altogether about 75 women attending in person, and early estimates with regard to virtual participation are around the 50 mark, but we will be able to get more information exactly in terms of how many numbers, because we would have, it's kind of hard to track, but we will get that final number because some women were hopping on for the morning session and then some other women were hopping on for the afternoon session. So there was a lot of kind of back and forth, but that's something that we can certainly figure out. But I'm happy to report that prior to COVID, this plan for the Leadership School for Women that originally was earmarked for May 1st and 2nd, we were hopeful to be able to accommodate 100 women. Very happy to report that we've exceeded our original goal of having 100 women attend. So between virtual and in person, we did exceed that. But the wonderful part, Adam, is that we had NovaStream that was there to live stream, but they also recorded the session. So the end game will be to have those session videos on our website at some future date, so that the 100 women that we intended to work with now will have no limit. So any woman or anybody who wants to take in any of those sessions can do so. So we hope it will inspire lots of women wherever they're watching, from really anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the world even.
Well, it seems like there was a wide diversity of women from not only across the island and across the strait, but across different demographics as well, too. And without naming names, I do know that there was a daughter and a mother that went together, the daughter in her 20s
Yes.
and the mother in her 50s. So I'm just wondering, what did you see in terms of different types of women coming from different types of backgrounds? And is it encouraging to you to see that it wasn't just one type of person at a certain point in life, that it was people from all the way across the spectrum that are now looking at the possibility of running for their respective municipalities and band councils?
Mm-hmm. There certainly was a lot of diversity in the room, and that was the intention from day one. We wanted to remove barriers that would prohibit participation, and we wanted to make this venue as welcoming and as inclusive as we possibly could make it. What that translated into was a lot of diversity in the room, which was wonderful to see. Could we have had more diversity? I think, yes, we could have. We definitely could have had, it would have been nice to see more women of color attending, and we didn't have as many women of color. We had a really wonderful representation of First Nation women. We had a wonderful and diverse representation of women from municipalities in terms of age and background. So there, we had some 17 and 18-year-old participants, and then we had our elders there as well. So it was a broad spectrum in terms of age and in between. Really, really nice to see.
Can you give me a sense on what you and your partners do to help keep the momentum going beyond this conference, as opposed to just simply sending everybody home and saying, well, there you are, you're on your own.
Good luck.
Yeah.
We have some incredible partners that have helped us along the way. In addition, of course, to the Cape Breton Partnership. The Cape Breton Partnership was, kind of our sister organization that has helped us from day one. I don't know if we adopted them or they adopted us, but the Coady Institute and St. FX Extension, they called us up one day and said, "Oh my gosh, we heard about your project. We're so excited. Is there any way we can help?" So of course, we said, yes, we would love for you to help, because they have this wonderful reputation for programming for women and leadership, and all across the spectrum. So we were so happy to be able to strike that partnership with them. And they will be doing weekly Zoom sessions starting in September that will dig into some of the topics that we were really only be able to provide a bit of a teaser because of the time constraints of doing it in one day. But they can certainly flesh out some of those ideas and, dig into them in more detail. And that'll start when it'll be held on Wednesday starting in September. And I'm not sure how long the Zoom sessions will be, but they'll likely be in the evening. And the topics actually will be determined by the women who attended. So we had an evaluation form that we asked women to fill out. And what are the topics that you feel need more time and attention? And once we're able to digest that information from our evaluations that were filled out, we will be able to offer that programming for women leading up to the next municipal, and also the next First Nation elections. And even afterward, we will look at, okay, like, now that you are elected, what are some things you should know before you dig into those public meetings and that sort of thing. So there is also an opportunity, and we haven't quite fleshed this out yet, but there is also an opportunity to create a mentor system as well. So some of that could be with regard to helping with campaigning. Some of it could be after the fact. If women, need support with those early weeks and months as being a newly elected councillor or warden or mayor or band councillor or chief. So that is, again, we're kind of, this is very new to us, government focus. We've only been around for about 2 years now. And at the end of the day, we will always strive towards the two goals right now that we have, and that is giving women the tools and supports and the resources that they need, and inspiring women to leadership. So those are our two main goals for now. And with the elections coming up for municipal elections, and I do know that there are some First Nation elections that are coming up this October as well. It should be interesting to see what occurs as a result of those elections, and can we move the needle on the 30 present elected positions that women now hold? Will it be more? Will it be less? Only time will tell.
Did it give you some momentum going into this weekend, knowing that we have seen candidacies announced in a couple of regional areas? Amanda Mumberket running for Richmond County's District 4, Lynn Chisholm throwing her hat in the ring for District 5 in Inverness County, currently held by the warden there, Betty Ann McQuarrie. Did that give you and your fellow organizers a bit of a lift as you were heading into this week?
I have been talking to Lynn. I hope to be able to have a conversation with her. So that's great. It's great when women are interested. Now, with regard to Amanda, and in Richmond County, presently has no women there are no elected women at the table right now, and that is after having a larger council of 10 with 2 extremely strong and powerful women on that council at the time, Shirley McNamara and Gail Johnson. They are strong voices for their communities, and I lament the fact that there are no women on Richmond County Council, and that is a loss to the whole community. When I heard Amanda announced her intentions to run, I was so excited for not just for her, but for Richmond County, because for the past 4 years, it's just something that's missing, and having a strong female voice like Amanda on Richmond County Council would be such a gift to the whole municipality. So when I heard she was running, I actually asked her to sit on one of our panels. So Amanda sat on our panel, Women Have Abundance for Leadership. So that was the final panel of the day. And if anyone wants to go and check out that live stream and hear what she has to say, I think it's going to blow your socks off. She is a phenomenal leader, a phenomenal speaker, and Richmond would only be so lucky to have her as a leader there. And I hope that more women step up. I hope, and I have heard as well that we do have women interested in running in our town of Port Hawkesbury. Women have enough. Women don't have to worry about, taking a public speaking session, or, they feel like they have to take some kind of civics course before they put their name forward. They will learn as they go. There are opportunities for education through the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. Just do it. All you need to run, of course, other than the legal criteria that our province has set, is a passion for your community and a positive future forward outlook. I mean, if you have those 2 things and you're willing to work hard, roll up your sleeves, and help your community to grow, then that's in my opinion, those are some skill sets. Women have abundance of all of those things.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to seeing who does run for the municipal elections, and whether we do see a wave of women running locally. But in the meantime, given all that you do have on your plate, as we've just seen from speaking to you for the past couple of minutes, we really appreciate you taking some time for us. Brenda Chisholm-Beaton, thank you for joining us once again on Till Ill 24/7.
You're very welcome. Happy to be here and happy to talk to you anytime, Adam.
And that wraps up this edition of Till Ill 24/7. Thanks to my interview subjects, Brenda Chisholm-Beaton, Trevor Boudreau, and Tim Houston, and a special thank you to Becky Borono, one of my colleagues at Till Ill Community Television, who really gave me a hand in terms of the post-production phase of some of these interviews. Thanks so much, Becky. If you have any ideas for Till Ill 24/7 for stories, interviews, or features, feel free to call or email me at home, or you can contact Till Ill Community Television directly. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you go on YouTube, you'll see every single episode of Till Ill 24/7, including this one, as well as stories and interviews from the show, and a lot of great features that my friends at Till Ill have been putting together over the last few weeks. There's lots of new stuff coming up, so stay tuned. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you again for tuning in. I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon for the next episode of Till Ill 24/7.